my mom says it's the hardest thing she's ever had to do in her entire life is tell her son that his best friend, her daughter, had passed away tragically in the middle of the night from a blood clot.
You feel like you're on fire with your business, with your brand, with life, and you are now going back on the show.
Unfortunately, bad things have to happen to you in order for you to see life in a different perspective. I think that I found a passion and I found purpose in that passion, and that's really what I'm trying to do.
And that's one thing that I feel with you genuinely care about your community.
Part was the people that showed up for my sister. People waited in line for 6 hours to show their respect. My sister was an incredible human being.
How much of you getting back on the show has to do with your sister? Welcome back to the Ryan Zofay Experience. Today's episode is one I've been looking forward to for a while. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Matthew Rosenthal, who stands with us in reminding listeners that their greatest struggles can become their greatest strengths. Thank you for your support, Matthew. And now we get to our episode with my man, Josh Goldstein. What's up, Josh?
What's going on, my man? Thank you for having me.
Of course, bro. You know, it's interesting because, throughout life, I feel like God brings people on my path for the right reasons. And I met your business partner, Zach, at the gym. He's relentless, by the way.
Yeah.
And
culture.
Give a shout out for Zach.
Shout out, Zach.
But it's really cool because I got to meet you, dude, and I really saw a lot of myself in you. I think that's just so cool, bro, that God has put us on this path together and now we're developing a relationship. And I support what you're up to, bro.
Appreciate that. Same. Likewise. Yeah. I felt the same. I think that energy attracts, right? And people come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And ran into at the gym, right? Have a meeting the next couple of days, and like the rest is history, right? We've picked it up like we were friends our whole lives. And I think it aligns down to like the core values and like who we are as people.
100%. You know what's interesting? So I met Zach. I'm like, yo, dude, we're going to go to Vegas. You should come. He's like, we're busy. We got a lot going on. And then I meet you and I'm like, bro, like, let's go to Vegas, dog. And you're like, let's go. So,
like, what are we going?
Yeah. So that was dope, bro. That was a really cool experience, by the way.
It was unbelievable. I think that, my whole life I've been very calculated, right? School, sports, like you got to get your homework done. You're doing this, like don't take too many risks, like make sure you're set. Just grew up in a very reserved household, right? Like, and, after certain events in my life, I've been very like, relentlessly optimistic, right? And like just anything that I want to do, I'm going to do. And I think years ago, if you had asked me after the first day I meet you pretty much, hey, you want to come to Vegas tomorrow? I probably would have said no.
Right.
But I think that I'm at that point in my life where like everything happens for a reason.
So true, bro. And some of the most powerful opportunities have come to me in my life is when I've made decisions like that. I was scared to death, but I was like, I just got to do it anyways. Not saying that you were scared, but I remember investing into Tony Robbins' community. It was an $85,000 investment. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, how am I going to get away from work? How am I going to get away from running my business? Like my company, they're going to judge me. They're not going to, they're going to have a ton of critical thoughts. But I was like, I just knew there was something inside of me that was calling me to like grow or to become somebody that I wasn't at that time. And you've built an incredible brand, bro. And tell me, what was like the driving force behind that decision to build the brand that you've built?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I think that trauma is inevitable, right? Like it's going to happen at some point in your life, but it's really how you deal with that defines your success, right? You can let it cripple you and use it as a crutch your whole life, or you can use it as fuel and say, life's too short. I'm going to be the best version of myself. I'm going to do everything in my power to help as many people or be that person that I want to aspire to be, or else, right? And, I think that I grew up in a very, like I said, modest household, very middle-class average. I always had a roof over my head. Parents loved me. Married 35 years next year. So, so
your parents are still married together?
Still married.
35? Oh, that was your dad.
That was my dad. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my dad and my mom that you met the other day when they were down here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so dope.
So, I feel fortunate to have grown up in such like a very, loving environment and very conducive to what I want to do. Sure. But at the same time, it can also be a crutch for you, right? You didn't really go through many struggles. Like I was always good in school. I was the top athlete. I was the jock. That was like my identity.
Sure.
And I think there was a certain point in my life where COVID hits, right? It's 2020. I think I'm going to go to the next level, play baseball, get drafted. That didn't happen for me, right? COVID hits. I'm like, what now? Within a 6-month span, my dad gets into a near-death motorcycle accident,
Jesus.
right? Where he loses half of his leg, his finger,
Wow.
everything mangled. We didn't know if he was going to live. I took over his company like it was that. Just started really like making sure that I was helping the family, right?
Sure.
And like almost lose my dad. 6 months later after that, I get an opportunity to go on a TV show that my sister had signed me up for behind my back, right? My sister's like my best friend. And I'm in college, I'm finishing grad school. And I'm like, what is this? She's like, holy crap, they called you, right? She had signed me up behind my back.
Wow.
She's like, just go forward with it, right? Have the interview. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? So I get through the next one. Long story short, I get a call. I'm in the College World Series at that point, finishing out my baseball career. And they're like, hey, we need you to fly out tomorrow. I'm
Wow.
like, what? So I go there. It was an unbelievable experience. And I think that within that physical year, really my life changed, right? Everything that I had just talked about. But, I was on the show and it was, you're cut off from the outside world,
Sure.
right? So you have no communication with anyone for months. Don't know what time it is. Don't know what day it is. And I was on a show called Love Island. And I made it pretty much to the end. And about 5 days before the finale, I get woken up in the middle of the night by the producers. And I think I'm getting kicked off the show. I'm like, what did I say? What did I do? Things happen. And they wouldn't tell me what's going on. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. And you see the executive producer. And I'm like, something's up. He was like, take your mic off, go in the other room. We'll talk about it after. And so I walk in this room, not having talked to my family for almost 3 months.
Right.
And I see my immediate and extended family on a Zoom call, right? I'm 23, 24 years old at this point. I think I have the world by the balls. And I didn't see my sister. And my heart immediately dropped. And to this day, my mom says it's the hardest thing she's ever had to do in her entire life is tell her son that his best friend, her daughter, had passed away tragically in the middle of the night from a blood clot.
Jesus, dude. So hold on. So you walk into the room, you see your family on Zoom, and did you kind of know something was up?
You know what the crazy part is, like, my mind didn't even go there because I never thought like anything like that would ever happen to me in my entire life, right?
Wow.
Especially my sister. She was 27, healthy as a horse, engaged to be married, like all of it,
And so you guys had like a really, really close relationship.
My sister was my best friend. I mean, she was my only sibling. We were 3.5 years apart, so she was like a protector for me. I always loved all of her friends, obviously, growing up. But
So she was your older sister?
she was my older sister.
So she
yeah.
kind of like looked after you and...
She looked after me. She was a really good role model. She would always call me like the golden child, right? She's like, oh, Josh is good at this. He's good at that. He's good at that.
Hence the last name Goldstein.
Exactly, right? It fits. It fits. But no, she was really just like my biggest supporter. And like I could go to her for anything, girl advice, anything that happened. I wouldn't really go to my parents. I would go right to her and I'd pick up the phone and I'd call no matter where I was, right? Jesus. I left home at 18, traveling the country playing baseball. I was never really home. But I always talked to her, right? And we always had that relationship. So,
So you walked in the room. She wasn't there. Mom says that was the most difficult thing she's ever had to do. And I assume that's her telling you that she passed.
Yeah. So there, 5,000 miles away, I was in Hawaii, sitting on Zoom with all my family. And she had to tell me that my sister passed away in the middle of the night last night, and that she'd been watching me on the show, and
Oh man.
she loves me, and we're sorry that it happened, but
how'd that feel, like hearing that news?
I think it took a few hours to actually like sit in. You think it's a bad dream, you don't really believe what's going on. Like I said, my sister was 27 and healthy. I just never thought that would ever happen. And after that had happened, we spoke for a few moments. And
This
then,
is you and your parents.
Yeah, we all spoke for a few moments on Zoom, and then, figured out what I was going to do next. And I just cried for like 3 hours. Like no one could talk to me. I was like hyperventilating because I think I was just like processing everything. And then the producers came back in the room. They brought in the girl that I was with at the time to help me out. And, he was like, Josh, like, we have two options here, because I was like a main part of the show. I was the
Sure.
first guy on. I was there the whole time. We had a big storyline, and it's happening pretty much live, like
Sure.
aired to America. So he's like, we can either vanish you off the show, like nothing ever happened, we won't explain anything, or you can collect yourself, put your mic back on, and kind of tell your story of like what's going on and why you need to leave. And I thought to myself, like, I don't want to obviously give people too much information, but at the same time, like, I wanted to create my own narrative, and I wanted to make sure that A, my sister's story was heard, but B, let alone like she was the reason why I was there, and this is what's going on in my family, and I have to be there for my family right now.
So at that moment, like, you were like, all right, I'm not, this isn't about me right now. You shifted to, being the representation of your sister and kind of flying her flag.
Correct.
I think that's very admirable, because in those moments of decision, bro, I couldn't even imagine being that age, having that level of relationship with somebody that you love the most, your best friend, and then being told that she's no longer here. I mean, that's insane, bro.
It's a surreal experience because of the environment that I was in. So I like to describe it as like, it was like the best time of my life and the worst time of my life coming together at once. And like, you almost don't know how to process it in certain social settings, right? And it was tough, bro. Like, it was tough for a while because you come off from being a regular person, and I collected myself. They mic'd me back up. They aired this, and I kind of explained my situation. And within 12 hours, I was out on a plane back home, right? Like, I wanted to support
the
my family. Yeah, of course. But it comes with a lot more when you're in that environment, right?
Sure.
Like, I had all this fame, and I had all of these, people coming up to me and asking me what's going on, and it's very overwhelming. And I fly home, and there's 150 people at my house when I get home, family, friends, everyone. So like, I never truly got a chance to like process what had just happened. I just went right into everything.
Right. And so you feel it's really important going through some sort of extreme experience like that to really take time to process and feel the feelings. Wow, bro. Yeah, I mean, I know you know this, but when I lost my sister, I was 5. So like, the experience was completely different. Like, you're an adult, like, this is your best friend. You've established like a long-term relationship.
Right.
And then you go home and there's all these people in your house and you're just like, what the hell is going on? I mean, what was that like, coming home and seeing all the people and knowing why they're there?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why we kind of, hit it off from the beginning. I didn't know your story at all, but like, I could sense that, you had a remarkable story, right? And one of the first things we talked about was both losing our sisters, and I think that's why we bonded. But, for me, I think it was awesome to know, that I had such a great support system, and everyone was there for me. People like went to college with, like, people I hadn't spoken to in years at my house.
Wow.
Just a huge influx of people. But I think the even more remarkable part was the people that showed up for my sister. So we had a wake probably 5-6 days later, and we had extra security because of what had been going on, but people waited in line for 6 hours to show their respect for my sister and my family. And like, my sister was an incredible human being. She gave first, asked questions later. She was a social worker. One of the funniest people you'd ever meet. And, I think that she was serving her whole life, right? She was trying to help the youth out of troubled situations. And, she was just such a bubbly, positive, go-lucky person. And I wasn't entirely that person yet.
Right.
But I always envied that part of her, right? And I think that, like I said at the beginning, certain things happen in your life, trauma is inevitable, but it's how you deal with that. I kind of took that as an initiative to want to take everything that was great about her and exude that into me and make sure that her legacy is still living on, on this planet for as long as we can live.
Yeah, I respect that, bro. I appreciate that too. And I feel that, and it speaks to like who you are as an entrepreneur, because you have a business and your business is specializing in supporting women, starting to love themselves and feel comfortable in their own skin. And I just think that's so admirable of you. And how much do you think your sister passing has everything to do with the business decisions that you've made?
It has everything to do with the business decisions that I've made up to this point. You know, I spent a couple months trying to really decide what my next move was. And I'm sitting at home one day and I just couldn't sleep. I was up till like 5 o'clock in the morning and I was like, how can I honor her bigger than the impact that I already have, you know? And I was helping her on her personal fitness journey, getting ready for her wedding. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a women's only coaching program dedicated to helping regain their confidence or just any social situation that they're in, you know, in their life, and be that outlet for them, be that support system, be that motivator to tell them like they can get up and do this. This is how you do it, and let's attack it together, and you're not alone, and really cultivating that community. So I've started, you know, Josh Goldie Fitness off of literally the passion that I had for helping my sister and just wanting to have that in other people as well.
Sure. You know, I respect that, bro. And you know, it's interesting. So many people find that they have such a hard time like finding motivation or finding the drive. And it's interesting because if you just reflect on your life, there's moments and situations where you can find the leverage to become somebody that you're not. And what I have found for me, dude, is like those most painful moments or those life altering moments are truly the leveraging points that we need to really become our future self or to grow or to expand. And so now you feel like you're on fire. You feel like you're on fire with your business, with your brand, with life, and you are now going back on the show.
Correct. Yeah. So, you know, I think that as we were talking before, like, unfortunately, bad things have to happen to you in order for you to see life in a different perspective and really like fulfill your true passion. I think that, you know, I found a passion and I found purpose in that passion, and that's really what I'm trying to do. And I feel like I can accomplish anything. But if you had asked me that before 2020, 2021, I don't think I have the same answer, right? In that 1 year span, COVID hits, my basically career is over. My dad almost dies, very close. My sister dies, and then my girlfriend cheats on me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, what else? You know, like, let's handle it.
Yeah.
And I think that from that moment on, I've just taken every opportunity to serve. And I think, you know, you've said it to me before and it resonated, where I think the definition of a leader is to truly serve, right? And I was a captain all three sports in high school. I was a 2-year captain in my college baseball team. Like, I always felt like I was meant for more. And I know you talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what that was. And I think with all of these events happening and you know, how close I was to my sister, I finally woke up one day and I'm like, this is what I'm meant here to do.
Wow.
You know, and I truly wake up with a passion and a purpose to want to help people every day, regardless of the success of the company or anything else that we're doing. Like, I'm okay with where I'm at because of that. And I think that a lot of people, you know, start things for the wrong reasons or have, you know, different outcomes. Like, bro, I've been rich and miserable. Miserable. So I think that, you know, finding that purpose and finding that passion for whatever you want to do, everyone's put here for a reason. It's just about the experiences that you have when you're here to figure out what that is for you.
Yeah. And so, like, how rewarding and fulfilling is it when you see these women like really put in the work and have this transformation? Like, what are some of like the highlights that you've experienced? You know, you've impacted over 3,000 women at this point?
Yeah, over 3,000 women in the last 4 years, which is like,
that's insane, bro.
It means more to me than
that's crazy.
Yeah,
bro.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It means more to me than anything because like I started this in you know, the anticipation that I could help one person, right? If I can help somebody better their life, I'm good. And then it just snowballed. And I think that what I've learned in business, you know, I went to business school, I have my MBA, like, but what like business school doesn't teach you is like actually doing business. But more than that, like having a service-based business, especially, people buy from people, bro. Like, I think so much is taught of like this and, you know, in business and whatever, but like I just started being authentically myself and unapologetically myself within the content that I was putting out and truly caring about the people that I was helping. And it just came like a wildfire. You know what I mean? I think there's pillars to a successful company. Obviously, you know, in my opinion, it's great marketing. It's, you know, an unbelievable product, right? That's like undeniable. And I think that it's community. And we've built such an amazing community of
Wow.
like-minded women that all feel supported, where, they all feel like they're in it together, and I'm
Sure.
there encouraging them, and they're all seeing success. Because a lot of these women don't have support at home, right? Their husband doesn't get it. They're going through a tough time. They're divorced. They're in debt, right? They have a couple children. They hate their job. Like, there's a lot of things that go on in their life.
Sure.
And what we talk about really has nothing to do with your meal plan or your workout program. It's
Right.
like, who are you as a person? What have you gone through? And how can I use my experiences to let you know that, like, you're not alone, and you can get through this, and you can lose the weight, and you can feel confident, and you can, whatever goal that you have for
Sure.
yourself, you can accomplish.
Yeah. What do you think were like one of the biggest achievements that you've experienced with the members of your community? So you've had 3,000 women. Is there one that like sticks out to you the most? That's like, wow, this one situation was just like lights out. Like, what was that like? And who? And you don't have to share their name, but
Yeah, no. I mean, there's been so many over the years, bro, and it's been, like I said, such a fulfilling feeling to know that, like, you had a small hand in that. But I remember, I think for me, they always say, like, oh, you remember your first 100K, or you remember your first million, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a big milestone for you. I think the first remarkable transformation that I ever gave someone, I remember to this day, and it was back in 2021. And I'll say her name was Jasmine, and
let's give a shout out to Jasmine.
yeah, dude, she was awesome. She was with me for about a year, and in that time, she had lost 70 pounds.
Jesus.
70 pounds. But it wasn't even the weight that, like, I care about, because I don't talk about the scale. It's like, it's irrelevant to me. It was what had happened in that process to her as a human being, and her outlook and her mindset, and then what had happened to her life when she accomplished that goal.
Wow.
Moving forward. She came to me, 100 pounds overweight, basically, divorced, in debt, 3 children,
Jeez.
just like so much going on. And, we have a very expensive program. We do, because if you want the best, you pay for the best. And we always do it, right?
People pay for results.
100%.
Results, yeah.
100%. And she came to me with my trust, right? And that goes back to what I was saying before, people buy from people. Like, I was just authentically myself. I didn't know the most about fitness. I didn't, have certifications on X, Y, and Z, but, like, people buy from people. And I think that a lot of people mask that nowadays. But she came to me, we had a game plan. She started getting consistent, and in that year span, she lost 70 pounds. But afterwards, she hits me up. She got a boyfriend.
Wow.
She was dating.
Wow,
She lost like 10 sizes in her clothes.
Really?
Like, she got new clothes. She had a better relationship with her children. She was starting to show up better at work. Like, her music career was taking off. Like,
Wow.
all of the things happened because of one decision that she made.
Wow.
And you were talking about, making tough decisions, right? When you invested in Tony Robbins and everything like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so many people delay the inevitable, and they might spend 5-10 years thinking of making a decision, but it takes one moment to actually decide, I'm going to make that decision, and your life can change in a week.
It's so true, bro. It's so true. The cost of inaction, in the moments of decisions truly shape your destiny. And I think that's so cool. And just something to add to what you're saying, I think it speaks to a lot of what's going on in this industry now. There's a lack of trust. And I think the lack of trust has to do with the people that are influencers. They lack the integrity or the intention to truly care. And that's one thing that I feel with you is, like, you genuinely care about your community, about your people, your product, like what you're up to. And I think that's such an overlooked part of business, is when you have like a deep care for somebody, like just that alone, that intention to like really want to make a difference, that alone is more than half the battle. And so I see that with you. I see that with your commitment. I see that with your dedication. And it's so cool because, we just got off a Zoom with one of Josh's really good friends, and he wants to do a mastermind, and he wants to impact, hundreds of people, bring them to the event and see the transformation. And I think that's so cool. And that was like the reason why I asked on the Zoom, like, what is our intention here? And I saw you jump in because that's like your North Star. Like I feel that with you. Like
Yeah.
you're always like, wait, let me go ahead and make sure it's known like what we're up to.
Yeah.
Like I really want to make a difference. So I think that's really powerful, bro. And I think that's what separates you from most people out there in this industry.
100%. I really appreciate that. And I feel the same with you. And I think that's
thank
why we
you, man.
resonated, right? Because the way that you talk about your passion, your purpose, and using your story and life experiences to help other people, it's very similar, just in a
Sure.
different form, right?
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, I just truly care about what I'm doing, not only because of, the way I was brought up and who I am, but when you have a purpose and you have a passion behind that purpose, right? I think so many people go through life without a purpose, right? And you're trying to find it, you're trying to find yourself, you're trying to whatever. When you're so aligned on your vision and what you're doing, it becomes very easy to talk about what you're doing so passionately because you truly believe what you're selling or what you're doing or who you're helping, right? Like there's not one person on my team, and I envy you because I've learned a lot about my team through learning and seeing how you interact with your team. And, when we were in Vegas, we were having this unbelievable experience and breakthrough with your entire team. And as soon as we got back, I'm sitting down with my team, me and my business partner, Zach, and we're dictating the culture and the care level that way throughout our company, because if our employees feel that, our clients are going to feel that as
So
well.
true, bro.
Right. And I think that, when it comes to business, like so many people try and be something that they're not, right? Social media, I know you're going through social media right now, you're learning. No,
God
but
bless.
but what and we've had this conversation, it's really hard, but you have to stay consistent. But the one thing that I've learned is, like I said, being authentic and staying true to who you are, and people buy from people. But you have to understand, no matter what you're selling or what you're doing, you are the brand, right? Like somebody can take what I do and replicate it, but they're not me.
Right.
They're not you. You are the brand, right? And I think that if you dictate all of your content that way and you speak to your audience that way on who you're trying to help, like you will inevitably build something remarkable because you're a remarkable person, because I'm a remarkable person, like it's just inevitable. And I think that content, there's strategies obviously, but I think that down to the root, the most successful people that I know in business aren't trying to be anything besides themselves.
Yeah, that's so true, bro. And it's funny because I've been in the rehab space for, I think it's my 13th, coming on 14 years. And I forget it took me 13, 14 years to build this. I've been doing the content game for maybe like 2.5 years at this point. And sometimes I forget that it takes time and I have to be consistent. And so thank you for that. It just comes to me, like I think about like your North Star and like the motivation or the inspiration that you get is really because of your sister. It's so interesting when I think about this, right? Like I've had so many moments, bro, when I felt like my back was against the wall. I didn't know how I was going to make it to the next day. I didn't know how I was going to cover payroll. I didn't know if the audit I was going through was going to bankrupt my company. There were so many moments when I was just like on my knees, like, please help me.
Yeah.
And I always felt like my sister was always there. Like I felt her presence. I always felt like she was my guardian angel. Do you have that experience with your sister?
Yeah, it's a weird feeling that's hard to put into words and explain, but like you feel their presence, right? And every decision that I've made that I felt passionate about, I could feel her right by me, patting me on the back, like this is the best decision, right? Or like, I'm so proud of you. And I wake up every day and she's always in your thoughts, but your life gets busy and your subconscious doesn't really process what's going on. So to remind myself, like I have her urn right next to my nightstand on my bed with a necklace that my mom made for a bunch of her closest friends in our family, with a piece of her wedding dress, because she had picked out her wedding dress before she passed, because her wedding was in like 3-4 months. And I look at that and there's a whole scripture of something that she believed in very dearly. And I just take that 1 to 2 minutes to like really realign my thoughts on like why I wake up so passionately every day. Right. And like understand like, sis, this is what I'm doing, right? Like I know you're proud of me, and like I'm gonna help as many people, hear your legacy as possible.
I love that. What do you think she would say to you right now? Like what would be a piece of information that you think she'd want you to know?
I think that she would want me to know, like, that she sees all of it. I think.
Mm.
I think for me, part of why I hold on to a lot of my feelings, and therapy didn't really work for me, and I had a good support system, but sometimes I don't talk about it as loud as much, is
Mm.
because I never got a chance to like talk to her, right?
Mm.
So I think the last time I saw her in person was like
Wow.
April, and then I went on this run in the College World Series, and then I went immediately to Hawaii the next day, and then I was gone for like 2.5 months, and I never got a chance to talk to her,
Mm.
see her, whatever. And I know that she had signed me up for the show behind my back, so I was so excited
Right.
to, when I get off the show,
Mm.
tell her everything that happened, right? Because I know
Right.
that she would want to ask me a
Right,
million
right, right, right.
questions, and all of her friends, and I never got that conversation, right? So
Wow.
it's almost like a breakup. You don't get that closure. Like, I never got that closure. And we had talked about this in Vegas, but sometimes I hold on to so much pressure on myself
Sure.
to, be there for my family, and everyone, and now the amazing community that we've built, right? But also, like, to just like make sure that I'm making her proud,
Mm.
and that she knows that I'm doing all of this in her honor. And, there's no way of actually communicating that, but I'd like to think that she's, looking down
For
every day
sure.
and like super proud of what's going on.
And it's so true, bro. Like one thing that I've found, the more life happens, the more important it is to really express the emotions or what's going on or how I'm feeling about a situation. And sometimes that's the most difficult thing. And what I've found is like I tend to isolate. I tend to disconnect and disassociate from what's going on. And I think some of the most powerful moments I have is like I'll have like conversations like with my sister, with my mom, or with my dad, and I really feel the presence of them. And it's cool because like I feel like I can really channel them, and I can speak as if they were speaking to me. And so I just think that's so cool. And so do you find yourself like now knowing this, that there's a level of expression that needs to happen in order for you to like truly find happiness? And what is your practice that you implement now with like expressing yourself and opening up about these types of things?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's a a bigger level of awareness than I had before, right? And I think you've helped me a lot with that, into just you coming into my life and giving me a different perspective on, why we operate the way that we do, or why that we think the way that we do, and kind of the intricacies of that. But, I put a lot of pressure on myself, because a lot of times I'm like, well, why am I still here, and she's not, and
Mm.
like I'm just like, getting all of these opportunities to be able to shine my light, but, she's not here. So I think that over the last few years, I've really tried to do a good job of like staying grounded, staying who I am, and not get lost in a lot of the stuff
Mm.
that's going on. Like, I still talk to all my home friends, and I see the people that I want to see. I talk to my family every day. I just flew them down for the weekends,
Yes,
just
very
to visit me
nice.
this past
Yeah.
weekend, because I hadn't seen them in forever. But, I think just like for me, like being around the people that I love, and like not getting caught up in, as business owners, like you can be on your phone all day. You're
Yeah.
getting dragged into a million different
So
directions. You're not
true.
actually present. So like when they flew down, I just kind of like was off my laptop for 3 days, right? My phone was on D&D most of the days, and like I woke up Monday and I had to catch up on a lot of stuff, but I'm okay with that now. And I think that before I wouldn't have been. So I'm trying to just stay more present, and like understand like what you're doing and why you're doing it.
That's so good, bro. You know, it's interesting. I have a different perspective today about death because I've experienced a lot of it. You know, my sister passed, my dad passed, my mom passed, my grandparents passed. And what I've found, like through this journey of healing and through this journey of transformation, is that the only time death really is a problem in life, and for me, was when I was in conflict when it happened. You know, like I didn't want it to happen when it happened.
Mm.
And in those moments is when I'm trying to play God, or I'm trying to like control the narrative or control the situation. And I can honestly say today that if my mom, my dad, and my sister did not die, I would not be doing the things that I'm doing today. So I truly believe in my heart and my soul that they left this physical earth
Mm.
so that I could be the man that I am today. And I feel that with you. I
Mm.
feel like you've stepped into that, where you're like, all right, now I don't want to fall short on my mission and on my dreams, because I know this is what my sister would want me to do. And I know this is the flag she wants me to fly. And how much of that resonates with you?
I mean, what you just said is like exactly my thought process
Mm,
on everything. I don't think I'd be here sitting with you today if my sister didn't pass and if those things didn't happen in my life,
sure,
because your experiences shape you and it aligns
sure.
your purpose, right? And, we talk about death, and it's interesting you talk about that. And, my mom is the strongest woman I've ever met in my entire life. She's my rock. And, I'm getting emotional even talking about it. But, you know, I can't imagine losing a son or daughter, a child, right? Like, we go through death, like your parents lost their daughter.
Mm,
Like, same with me. And you never think that you're going to outlive your child. And I think that, it was my mom that at the year reunion, right, of when this all happened, the year went by so fast. We were going to have a bunch of people get together in this huge party. And she was like, she like wiped the tears off of her face and she
mm.
was like, you know what? It's not a mourning of a death anymore. It's a celebration of a life.
Wow.
And we had like 300 people at this function hall, the same place that she was supposed to get married.
Wow.
And it was just like we were laughing and we were enjoying and remembering all these great things about her. And I think from then on, bro, a year after it happened, my whole perspective changed
Mm.
on death, like you were saying. And it's absolutely true. Like my mom is right. Like it's not a mourning of a death, it's a celebration of a life.
Sure, for sure. I mean, you've accomplished so much, bro, in such a short amount of time, and I think we all need leverage at times to really push us forward and forge us forward. Have you kept in contact with her fiance?
So we did for a while. My sister knew how to pick them for sure, and
What does
I
that
I
mean?
met a lot of boyfriends over the
Okay,
years
okay.
growing up. But her fiance at the time was an awesome dude. He's one of the
Okay.
few that I actually like really liked.
All right.
And we would do a bunch of stuff together. We'd shoot guns. We'd go golfing. We'd do whatever. And for a good portion of it, we maintained a good relationship. Now, if we call each other right now, we chop it up and,
Sure,
and it's
sure,
fine. But, I think people deal with death differently, right? And
sure.
people mourn differently. And I think for him, the transition was really hard for him. Like she was in his arms,
Couldn't even imagine.
when she passed. So I couldn't even imagine what that feels like or how you go through. But, he moved on pretty quickly. But I think, rubbed some of us the wrong way. It definitely affected me a little bit. And then he's actually newly married now. So, ever since all that kind of happened, it kind of dwindled out. But my sister
Sure.
had a dog, so he took the dog. So, we
Mm.
wanted to see, the dog as well. But I have no, bad blood with anything. Like, we would still talk to this day, just become a little bit more distant for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Life goes on. We get busy
Right.
and things move on.
Yeah.
So this new season of life is coming up, and you've been invited back on the show. How much of you getting back on the show has to do with your sister?
Yeah. I think it has almost everything to do with it. I think that
It's like
timing,
it's time. Like you need to complete it. It's like you want to
right.
like go all in on this one, and
Right,
not.
because
Yeah,
the season that I was on before, I was the first one on. I was scared shitless. It worked out in my favor. I think, like I said before, if you're just authentically you, it will always be okay.
sure.
And me and the girl that I was with were fan favorites, and we were supposed to win the show like a
Wow.
week later, right? And all that ended. So I think for me, it's more like I'm at a great point in my life right now where I'm fortunate enough to have, amazing opportunities, but also a kick-ass team behind me with all of the ventures that I'm doing that can handle a lot of the
Sure,
stuff.
sure.
And my team is everything. And I think that for me, going back on is not just going back on another show. It's more of like you said, finishing my journey, right?
Yeah.
That I never got to finish, and really taking what's mine and showing the world who I am now compared to who I was when I was 23 years old, right out of college with no purpose,
Right. It's so crazy how life works, bro, because I believe, just like hearing this and knowing you and knowing your situation, I believe because of what you went through, that's why this opportunity is being presented again. And I respect you because I'll be honest, there was a time when I probably would have judged and like, oh, that's so stupid. Because there
Yeah.
was a time when they would ask me and invite me to do those shows and dating shows, and I was just like, I'm not doing that shit. It's stupid.
I was the same way.
I was so
though. I was the
judgmental,
same
bro.
way.
But I love your perspective
Yeah.
because you're like, yo, this is an opportunity for me to show the world like my heart and who I am, and I'm doing this for my sister. And then at the same time, like you've created a business specific to the people that are going to be viewing you, the people that are going to be following and watching you. So you're leveraging your opportunity to truly create massive impact in the world. And I think that's so admirable of you, bro. And like yeah, you're standing at the hilltops, like shouting out, like, "Yo, I'm here to make a difference in the world." And I just think that's so cool. So when do you go back on the show? Like, when does it start?
So it'll probably start sometime mid-September.
Okay.
So coming up pretty quickly here.
So when do you leave? You're leaving soon.
Yeah, next week,
Okay.
essentially.
Is
Yeah.
that going to be okay?
Huh?
Is that going to
Is
be okay?
I don't know. We'll find out pretty soon. He might be calling you
I
37
know,
times a day
that's
instead
why
of
I
me.
said I'm teasing.
So no, everything, like I said, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have an amazing team just like you do. And I think it goes back to you are the brand, right? Like we don't recruit employees anymore. I don't go, oh, I need someone here, I need someone there.
Yeah.
People come to us. They want to be a part of what we're doing,
so
you
true.
know? And like I was just talking to my business partner earlier, like we have a kick-ass saleswoman who quit her $100,000 a year job with benefits to come work for us because she believes in what we're doing. Recently, we have one of our, you know, admin and tech employees who is still dabbling with other companies go all in on us because he truly believes in what we're doing, you know? And like that in itself, it's almost like giving someone a transformation, right?
Sure.
Spiritually or like physically. It's like people are so on board. And when you have that transparency and that congruency in like your company and what you're doing and your visions align and everyone's on the same train, bro, it's kick ass.
That's so amazing.
You
You know,
know?
there's something I say, I forget where I got it from, but I adopted it. Most anything I say, I've heard it from somebody else, and I give my own little twist. But success isn't something that you pursue. Success is something that you attract by being attractive. And it's cool because I'm watching this happen like real time. You guys, your brand is growing, blowing up. You guys are impacting a ton of women, you know. And a lot of times when I'm on stage and I share about transformation and how do you build and create the life that you want, it's speaking to exactly what you're saying. It's like, be attractive. If you want to make more money, become more valuable. If you want more love in your life, be more loving. And it's just so cool watching you like implement that stuff. And I'm excited for what's next for you, bro. I'm excited to see you continue to grow. And now you have this itch, this fire to want to start speaking on stages.
Yeah, bro.
Speak to that. What is that about?
Well, you've inspired me a lot too, even just like being around you and like getting a firsthand look on stage of seeing you in action. It's like really lit a fire in me to understand like we're not even scratching the surface on who we can impact, right? And I think that you talk about, you know, a greater impact a lot. And you know, the show obviously is a big reason why I want to do that as well, right? Attention is currency. But at the same time, like, just like we're having this conversation right now, very organically and authentically, and we're very passionate about what we're talking about, I really want to learn the art because it is an art, right?
Sure.
Like coming up here, anyone just can't speak about what they're doing. And I'm a constant learner, and I know that you are too. I love learning. I think it's really cool. I think you can take bits and pieces from everyone that you meet in your life. And I don't think that anyone should look at someone that may be below them or whatever and don't think that you can learn something from them. You know, I always tried to put myself in situations like before I even started making money, like I'd fly first class with the little money that I had because I just wanted to be in that environment. And I'm like, if I'm here and I feel it and I see how the people interact and maybe I spark a conversation with someone, they have their laptop up, which had happened before I really was even anything. And they had an e-com brand. I'm like, so what are you doing? How does this look? Like whatever. And it just opens up your eyes to like what the future could possibly be for you.
So true.
Right. And I think that a lot of people, and this is the big step that we deal with people trying to take the next step on their physical journey, because when you take action on your physical health, the rest of your life levels up as a result, right? Like opportunities come about, you're more positive, you know, you're more confident, your job is better, your relationships with people are better, and like everything spirals. But I think it's really just people's limiting beliefs on like, they don't think that they can do it, you know, and we've willed so many people into just like, just start, just try it out. What's the worst that can happen? You're not going to be in a worse position, right? It's only going to get better for you. And I'm here for you every step of the way. And then you just see them take off and flourish. And it's amazing to see.
It's cool because thank God for my mentors, because I feel like God put the right people on my path for a reason. And I'm glad that I was taught by the people, because the first thing that happens before action is your intention. And so like when you think about, you said, yeah, it's a skill. I'm grateful because when you set an intention to truly make a difference and you genuinely care about the people you're speaking to, it hits different. They feel it different. That's like the first step with communication. And then the second step is like you're speaking to their listening. So you're putting yourself in their perspective, and you're literally speaking to what they need to hear. Because a lot of times people don't even know what they need to know. And that's the beauty of what you're embarking on and what you're learning. And it's so crazy, bro, because like as you go down this path with me and you continue to explore this skill, you're going to see a lot of your mastery comes from what happens before you speak. Your intention, like your deep, like heartfelt care of like, what does this person need? Like when you step on stage and you have 1,000 women in front of you, picture your sister there. Picture like what she would need to hear. Picture like what would truly make a difference for her.
Right.
And when you speak to that, bro, that's what creates the connection. That's what creates the transformation. That's how you have like true stage presence. And, you know, thank God, you know, Tony Robbins being one of my mentors, you know, that was what he mastered. You know, like he may not be the best, like articulate communicator, but like you feel his presence because he genuinely cares. I remember when I went to my first event with Tony, he says, I'm speaking to the person and in the back at the top of the stadium. Like I'm speaking to that person. I want that person to hear me, not the person in front of me. I want that person to hear. And that's a deep level of intention.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so powerful because that's what you're stepping into. And I'm excited to see this because I think you're going to be you're super competitive. So like, you're going to be really talented at it. And I think like your heart's in the right place. And I think that's what matters the most.
No, I appreciate that. And I think that, you know, having mentors like yourself, right, to then embark on that next chapter for me, which is something completely outside the realm of even what I thought was going to happen for my life or, you know, outside my comfort zone. But I think that, like I was saying before, you know, we both can take things from each other. And like, I think you having a passion for what you do and seeing it firsthand, like, you know, we talk about that trust factor. Like I'm all in, like I see it and you see how much I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And, you know, you talk about talking to one person, content's no different, bro.
Right, I need
like
to learn that.
I've said that.
School me, dog, because I need it.
but it's really like, you know, you see my stories and I saw a shift in my brand when I just genuinely started talking to the camera, right? None of this fancy production or like whatever it is, or, you know, you trying to come up with some viral dance. Like nothing I do is viral, but you know, a lot of people look at the views and they're like, oh, like I'm not getting enough views. Bro, I have 8,000 consistent people that view all of my shit. And those are the people that are on board. And then people are in and out. But like, you know, people look at views, but there's a huge difference between views and customers, you know, or followers and customers, or followers and like supporters really of the people who truly believe in who you are. And that's all you need. That's all you need. So when you're creating content, like I act like, you know, you said talking to your sister, like, yeah, partly I act like I'm talking to one person, right? My sister, whoever I want to help that's emulated like my sister. So again, people like make it such a big thing. Like, you know, you're talking, if you have a big following, right? It can be overwhelming. You're like, oh, I need to like keep up with everything and I need to make sure people are enjoying what they're watching. And part of that is true. But at the end of the day, like I said before, you are the brand. This is how you want to articulate things. And the people that are supporting it and the people that are on board are going to naturally come to you. It's almost like finding a new friend group. Like if you're just authentically you, the people that are supposed to be in your life will be in your life. And I find that true with content as well.
So dope, bro. So the show, you leave soon for the show. How long are you going to be gone for?
It's a great question.
Oh, because if you win, you extend.
Yeah, it's
well. Like what is the entirety of the show?
So the next few months of my life are kind of unknown, and I'm a very like planned out, detailed person.
This is against your.
So this is something that, you know, but adapt or die, right? So that's part of it. But yeah, so you leave. I still don't really know all the details of what's going on. You know, it probably will be around like 5 weeks or so. But then it depends on, you know, how much you were on the show or where you were at, and then what comes afterwards. Like, I could have a completely different. I have no idea, bro.
Wow.
I have no idea, which is kind of a cool part, right?
It's exciting, right?
But at the end of the day, like, I truly believe you create your own narrative. Like you said, like people are, oh, like, are you scared of bad publicity or people that are in the limelight? It's like, bro, you can't be portrayed as bad unless you give them a reason to be portrayed as bad.
Sure.
You know, like if you're just you, it'll come through in the best way possible. So yeah, bro, it's a lot of unknown, but a lot of exciting things, you know, coming in the works. And then I'm super pumped to be able to be a part of, you know, what we're doing here and start to speak at big events.
I appreciate that, bro. And so I do know that you are doing a mastermind in January. We don't know the dates yet. And so who
Yeah.
would that mastermind be for, like specifically?
Yeah. So, your event is the same weekend. So, we're going to kind of obviously be a part of that, but, it'd be like mid-January. And, I just feel passionately about what I do, and, the success that we've had over the last few years. I get a lot of people coming either from the reality TV world or just in general that are like asking me advice on like, hey, how do I build this online coaching company? Or how'd you do this? Or how'd you do that? Right. And I always tell everyone, like, I'll sit down and have coffee with whoever you are and tell you everything. Cause like I said before,
Sure.
no one's gonna do better. No one's gonna do it better than me, and no one's gonna do it better than you, right? Like, you are the brand.
Sure.
So I'll give you whatever you need. And I want to just share what I've learned over the last 4 or 5 years, because there's a lot. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I spent a lot of money doing things that I can help people on just by being in, you talk about proximity,
Sure.
for a while. And fortunate enough, as I climbed the ladder in my industry, being able to be friends and connect with a lot of high level people in my space as well. So, they'll all be a part of it. But it's really like the person who just wants to learn how to create an online fitness company, or even just any online business in
Sure.
general, because there's going to be a lot of different inputs from different people, or someone who just feels like, they're doing their normal job and they're meant for more, and they want to learn how to like level up their life and be a part of something that's bigger than themselves. So
Yeah, and I love that. And for me, like the collaborative effort for me is I want to reach as many people as I possibly can. And I remembered I would always be like, I want to help 1 million people. And then I would be like millions. And then like I was like stretching. I'm like, I'm gonna say it. I'm like billions. I want to help billions.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I'd love to help billions of people. And that's my North Star. That's my mission. And Tony Robbins has fed over 1 billion people. And so when I think about like why I'm doing this with you, one, obviously we're developing a really cool relationship and a partnership and a business friendship and all that cool stuff. But if I can shift your perspective or give you a piece of information that can impact all of your people, I have a hand in that impact. Right. And I think that's how people can collapse and condense time, is like through partnerships and through proximity. I mean, I'm seeing my business now through your perspective, something that you've built over the last 4 years. I don't have that experience. And so when you can align with the right people, you can collapse so much time. And the same for you. Like I've been speaking on stages since 2021. And so I have a little bit more experience. You're going to see that from today's perspective, from my perspective today. So you're going to collapse a ton of time. And so that's what I'm really excited about is like coming together. And we're going to do 1,000 people in January. I know you're doing like a sick, like high level mastermind with like a dope villa, and you have a friend that's gonna join you.
Yeah. Me and Josh are gonna spearhead it. Josh Mooney, he lives in Dubai. We've been friends for a couple years now, and he's obviously big in the agency space and online fitness space. But we're gonna host like a 2-day mastermind in Miami where dope villa, you come, you have a ton of great speakers, a ton of great value on there, nice dinners, maybe a boat on that last day, a nice little yacht day to finish it off, and then spearhead right into your event that weekend in Miami area. So, I think it's really cool that we get to not only share our stories, but share our experiences together and like you said, help as many people in a positive way as we can.
That's so powerful. So if you're interested in being a part of this, the information will be in the bio, so you can look below and connect and be a part of this. Dude, I'm grateful. I know you, bro. I'm grateful that we are now on this journey of life together. So like, what's next? So you got the mastermind, you got Love Island, you're growing the business. What about relationship stuff?
You really had to squeeze that one in there, did you?
I figured they'd want to know, man.
Well, clearly, if I'm about to go back on, I'm single. But I've learned a lot about myself the last few years in not only business but also dating, right, in relationships. And I think that I try and fix people as you do as well, right?
Rescue? You talking about rescue? Put the Superman on the chest?
But that's what we're trying to do in our jobs, right? So it just naturally transitions into our relationships. And I think that for me, like, I've learned a lot about myself over the years and what I want, but in my opinion, more importantly, what I don't want, right? And I think for me and for you, I can speak as well, we've talked about this, is we're so aligned on our vision and our mission that, like, if someone doesn't come into your life and they truly understand and support what you're doing, it's never going to work.
Sure,
and I've
true.
tried for so long on a couple different relationships of people that just didn't support me or didn't understand like where my mind was at. Like you wake up and it's so hard to articulate what you see because it's only through your eyes, right? And it's hard to like get someone to understand that if they don't see it. So I think for me, like I'm just kind of doing me. I'm very okay with who I am, and I love being
that.
alone. And I don't need anyone in my life. I've been always very independent. Like I said, I left home at like 17, 18 and like lived away. I lived home like 2 weeks out of the year, basically. And so I'm good. I'm really good. I love where my life is heading, business and career wise. And the people that are in my life are like my best friends, and I love everyone that's in my life. And I think that when it happens, and you'll know, you're going through it currently right now. You know
Sure.
how much she supports you, and it just works for you, right? And that wasn't the case before. So for me, I'm chilling. I'm only 28. I'm not looking for anything, but at the same time, like if something comes about where it truly makes sense for me, like I love love.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
right there with you. I have
Yeah.
Be Love on my neck, and I always
Yeah.
wear the Lover Boy hats.
Yeah.
So I get it, bro. I'm right there with you. I think where you're standing is where you ultimately want to be, because that's kind of what happened for me. I'm 40, right? I was engaged twice. Those relationships didn't really work out because of me, because of who I was being. And I think once I fell in love with Ryan and I fell in love with like what I'm up to in the world and really built my life, I believe God will put the right person on your path that is going to support you, is going to add fuel to the fire. I don't know because I've never really experienced it, but I hear from like Tony and David Traub, two of my main mentors, like once you fall in love and you build a family and it just gives you an extra level of motivation and leverage
Right.
to really blaze your trail. And I'm starting to feel that because I'm not just thinking about like what's in the best interest of Ryan, although I had to do that to get to this place.
Correct.
But now I'm like, what do I want for my kids? Like, what
be
do I
selfless,
like?
yeah.
I don't want my kids to grow up and be like, who's this bum of a dad?
Right.
Like, I want to be a rock star. So my kids are like, yo, that's my dad.
Right.
Like I want them to be proud of me.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I want to build an incredible life, not just for me, but for my whole family. And so I'm definitely embarking on that next season. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm excited about what we have going on, what bringing Zach to the table. It's so cool what he's helping me do, because that's the biggest thing, bro. Is like I just want to put butts in seats and then
and let your passion,
let
your
God
gift
speak
do it.
through me, bro.
Yeah.
And so it's so cool.
For sure. And it's a different level of care, like when you have a family, right? Like it's
So
a different
true.
level of purpose. Like we're doing what we're doing because of the things that happen in our life.
Sure.
But like when that journey of your life happens, it's just an even greater level of care and purpose, I feel like.
So true. So Josh Goldstein, guys, check him out. He's going to be on Love Island. I'm probably going to watch the show. Don't judge me. I never watched the show before, but I'll be watching my guy.
Oh, God.
Look, that's my friend. I'll be tweeting and shit. I don't even know what that is, but I'll be tweeting.
Take everything with a grain of salt, please.
Yeah, no judgment. Judgment-free zone, guys. But his information will be below. Follow him. Super dope dude. If you're a woman and you need help finding your confidence, really stepping into who you're meant to be in the world, this guy has mastered that skill. You can see his North Star is driving him, which is his sister. I think that's so cool, bro. I'm really excited about our friendship and what we're going to do together in the world and the impact that we're going to have. Is there anything in closing you'd like to say or you think is important for people to know?
Yeah, I just think like, what I've learned over the years is like the only person that can save you is you. And there's so many people that have these limiting beliefs of like, I can't do this, I can't do that. But like, you actually can. And I believed the same thing for years and years and years until I realized like truly taking accountability for everything that's happening in your life and understanding that you can fix it and seeing what happens after that. So I would just say like, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And like I got told for years and years and years, I was too small. I couldn't be, play at the school. I was this, I was that, I was dumb. I couldn't take tests. Like, and I just proved everyone wrong. Right. And I think that another thing to take away is like, if it won't matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it, right?
That's so
like
true.
life is so short, but so long at the same time. And like we draw out these long narratives of like, oh, well, this happened to me and like this drama. It's like, bro, just move on, take care of your shit, and life will fall into place for you.
I love that. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so my biggest platform is Instagram. It's _Josh.Goldie _. I have the same thing for TikTok, and those are my biggest two platforms. But I also have YouTube, and we're obviously gonna be embarking on new journeys here, so it'll be exciting, kind of leading in. But yeah, my passion to help women is something that I hope you guys see, and I'd love to be a part of that with you as well.
I love that. Yo, thank you so much for being on the show, bro. Check him out on Love Island. He's gonna win, guys. We need him we need you to vote so he can win.
Always a
Awesome, bro.
pleasure, my guy. I
Love you,
appreciate
bro.
it. Seriously,
Thank you so
love
much,
you.
bro. God
Thank
bless.
you.